An unscripted Friends reunion would be a diabolical mess. That is the headline on today's movie news.
Yes, Stephen, an unscripted Friends reunion is of course being pondered by the creators and I believe the bigwigs at HBO Max, who have of course acquired the rights to Friends from Netflix in a whopping $500 million plus deal set to take place over 5 years. This is coming in from The Guardian, incidentally, and they have been quite scathing. Stuart Heritage, that is. I don't know who Stuart is, but he's been rather scathing of this proposed unscripted episode of Friends. Now, I say episode, Stephen, have to be clear. This isn't going to be an episode in the traditional sense where we have Gunther and Ross and Rachel and all of the gang back together in an apartment or in a coffee shop, Central Perks if it's still there. This is going to be like a live audience set up where they get on a stage and speak amongst each other and reminisce about their favourite
as
gags. As
themselves or as the characters?
Hopefully as themselves. And he says that this will be a disaster because there's been similar things done before and they have been unmitigated disasters which have nearly destroyed the legacy of the show. So what is your thoughts on it, first and foremost?
Firstly, John, if they're going to do that, they've already done that, minus Matthew Perry. They did it for, I can't remember who tribute it was for, but they had the other five on the couch talking about their experience. It's on, I think it's still on YouTube.
No, right.
And it was quite a tense affair, you know, it was kind of awkward. You know, it wasn't just about Friends, you know, it was, I can't remember, it was one of these producers who was getting honoured, the cast from The Big Bang Theory were there as well, all the other shows they worked on. I don't know, John, I don't see any need for it, to be honest with you. I understand they want to celebrate 25 years from, you know, the show's, you know, premiere back in 1994. They will have to do something to obviously celebrate it. I get that, but the early talks were, of course, that there were going to be a new episode or a special episode or whatever. But as obviously the days have moved on, we're starting to get a clearer picture where they're going with it. And it sounds like they're going to be doing what they've already done. So I'm not really excited about it, to be honest with you. But then again, I'm not really wanting another series of Friends either.
No.
I wanted it back in 2005, and since then, you know, a lot of the cast members have regretted not carrying on. I know Matthew Perry and Lisa Kudrow have, spoken openly about they could have carried on a few more years doing it. But, you know, they were at an age, obviously, where they were doing the show for 10 years at that point. They wanted to try different things. Some of them went into, obviously, stage. Some of them went on to do some rom-coms, etc. Some of them didn't do anything else. Matt LeBlanc, he went on to do a successful run on the series episodes where he played a
half of the disastrous Joey.
Yeah, I was trying to blank that out, John, but he did do a good turn on the episodes. He played a kind of slightly sort of weird version of himself, which was really funny. But they'll always be remembered for these characters, and I think they've accepted that. Jennifer Aniston last month opened up a Instagram account, I believe, and nearly caused the internet to crash with that photograph of all six of them together. I think it's one of the first photographs we've seen them all together since their days in Friends. So I would just let things be. I've got to be honest with you, John. It's just one of those things. Sometimes it's not that good to go back. Look at Only Fools and Horses. Ended on the perfect note of them walking into the sunset as millionaires, and then they brought it back and it just didn't work.
Yeah, that was a disaster, Stephen. Yeah. That really did spoil that great ending that you also touched upon. There's been other examples, Stephen, where we've had cast members a part of a big TV show with a cult following, the likes of the X-Files. David Duchovny grew a bit big for his boots and went off to pastures now to try and achieve a career as a film star, obviously doing traditional feature-length films away from the X-Files thing. Discovered that it wasn't going to work out, and then he had to come back begrudgingly and finish off the X-Files arc, and it never really worked out. We've then seen him go off and have a middling career, and I feel like it's the same with most of these Friends actors. Jennifer Aniston aside, none of them have really went off and done anything which has eclipsed their roles on Friends. Matt LeBlanc, you could argue, has had a very solid career. He's been obviously the lead on Top Gear after Jeremy Clarkson, the dump. And as you did mention, the episodes, really enjoyed that TV show. I actually have to get back into that. I've not seen it since Series 2, but up to Season 2, Series 2, whatever. It was very good.
Yeah.
You then look at the likes of Lisa Kudrow, she's done nothing. The rest of them haven't really done anything.
Well, Lisa Kudrow, she's been in sort of bit part, sort of films and stuff like that. She's not done anything, sort of been the lead actor or anything like that. She was in obviously that P.S. I Love You, playing a very minor role, but nothing that really stands out. And
Matthew Perry has had a brush with death, Stephen, in the last 6-7 months or so, maybe even a year. I can't recall when it happened. So he's just lucky to be here. So he's probably my favourite, Stephen, of a lot. But again, it's echoing what we're speaking about. They've not had an amazing career. So I'm not surprised to see them perhaps trying to come back. And I think it's probably HBO who's probably the biggest pusher in this. They are seeing the revenue that Netflix has been taking in. Well, perhaps they've not been taking it in, but the views they've been getting as a result. It's been the most popular show on Netflix, despite all of that amazing original content.
I'm sad to see it go, John. I've got to be honest with you, because
will you not get HBO Max?
No.
No, it's a streaming service too far.
I've already got Netflix, I'm going to be getting Disney Plus and possibly Apple as well. So
yeah, well, Stephen, again, I think it's just them pushing for it though. I think that's the primary cause here. They see the draw power of this great TV show. We were speaking about it, arguably the best TV show of its time. Well, not arguably the best TV show of its time. It was the biggest sitcom in the world at that point. I don't think they can top it. You will tarnish it, bringing it back.
Seinfeld, I think.
Seinfeld,
So we're probably the two big sitcoms in the US at that time,
And I feel like, Stephen, it's a different time now. Sitcoms are really, they've been and gone. The last great one was Big Bang Theory. It's finished now, so that's the end of an era. I don't think you can recapture that magic. So I certainly wouldn't want to see them come back with a full, I should say, not full. That's a Scottish slang version.
A chap's name.
Yeah, a fill, or filling up. But I don't want to see an actual season coming back. We've seen it with X-Files. It never works, as I did say.
No.
In terms of this unscripted episode where they just sit back and reminisce, it would depend on how it's handled, the production quality, and just if they'll all get their heart and soul in it and they can come back and give us some great stories we've perhaps not heard about, then it's maybe something I would be interested in. But again, as this guy rightfully says on this great article, that he just eviscerates this idea. It's littered with potential, I don't even know what the word would be, sinkholes. That's the best thing I can come up with. There's a potential for it to be a disaster. He quotes In-Betweeners as being an example. It was a complete disaster. I think it's blasphemy to even put In-Betweeners in the same breath as Friends. But look, all in all, we'll see what happens. I think it just shows you how enormous the show was, the lasting legacy. There's so many people still interested in these characters, still interested in Central Perks. I see people walking around with hoodies and t-shirts all the time. It's got a lasting legacy and there's still a genuine interest, so I'm not surprised to see HBO Max setting up this service. They want to get their fingers into that pie and get some of that money coming in, so we'll see what happens. As long as Gunther's there.
As long as it's not Rachel's shepherd's pie.
No, it's yes, or the trifle.
Yeah,
the trifle with the beef. But yeah, Stephen, look, I'd try that. But we shall move on in that note.
Tastes like feet.
Tastes like feet. Yeah. Give it a bash. I'm a bit like Joey, as you do know. I don't share my food and I will eat literally anything. But we shall move on that note, because I've got not much more to add to the second topic on today's show, Stephen. It is all about the MCU SpiderMan films not finding a lovely little, how would you put it?
Nest egg.
Yeah, nest egg on Disney Plus. It's not happening. No. They're not there. Are you surprised about this?
No.
No,
when it was actually, we'll just move on to the blog rundown, John. But I think when I think it was last week they showed you what they were obviously bringing to the streaming channel, and some people stated the obvious. Where's Spider-Man? I don't think Incredible Hulk's there either. Obviously,
they don't care about that though.
I think Universal own the rights to that distribution as well. So it's all to do with distribution rights, John, obviously. And I think Sony, to be fair to them, have been more flexible enough with Disney. And at the end of the day, if you love your Spider-Man, you're going to have it on digital download in some form or Blu-ray anyway. So it's not that big a deal, John.
No.
It's not like you could watch them all in sequential order and you must have the Spider-Man films in there. It doesn't work that way with the MCU, thankfully. They've worked it out very cleverly. That you don't really have to. You don't have to experience the Dark World again if you don't want to.
Age of Ultron.
Yeah, exactly. So you can.
I'm harsh on that movie.
You can actually skip them without actually, missing what's happening, in the universe. But no, I'm not really surprised, John. I think it's clear as day to see that. I don't know. Maybe somewhere down the line, Sony will probably want to have their streaming channel as well. They're all doing it, so why not?
Absolutely, Stephen. I think in this new landscape for entertainment and just the way consumers are consuming the entertainment, funnily enough, you're going to see more and more streaming services popping up, and it'll become like the cable, traditional cable from 20 years ago. It'll be ridiculous. There'll be too much. People, I mean, there's a limit to what people will pay. I know it's much cheaper than traditional cable and just like Sky and whatnot over here, so it's perhaps never.
There's no variety, John. It's just one brand, isn't it?
So you're kind of getting.
Apart from Disney, they've obviously got a collection of franchises in there.
It'll just depend, Stephen, perhaps on if they've got enough content to fire it into a streaming service. I'm not sure Sony have, so perhaps they won't. They'll maybe just stay clear of it and let these behemoths like Amazon, Apple, Disney, Netflix all fight out amongst each other. But I'm not surprised as well, Stephen, as you did say, for the sole reason that Sony hold the rights to Spider-Man, so they're not going to give them away for free to Disney Plus and let them fill their pockets even more. This is a company who's just grown to a ridiculously engulfed state. They're just to the stage where they're actually engulfing other studios whole, great studios like Fox, so they don't need any more money. They don't need a piggyback off of Sony to try and bring even more money in via Spider-Man. I don't really care. I like the Spider-Man movies. I own them digitally anyway, Stephen, so I can watch them whenever I want, really. It's not just consigned solely to Spider-Man either. When we go into Disney Plus, if you're lucky enough, I am, but I can read about it, and I know that I think there's only 7 MCU movies as it stands.
I think Star Wars as well is not all there.
It's very fragmented because of obviously put them out in various different distribution deals. So they have to wait till they all tick down and then they can bring them back in house and on Disney Plus.
We might win a watch out of this, John. By the time April comes, I think everything will be in place.
I think we will, Stephen. I think it will be a much more homogenous sort of experience by the time we get in there. There'll be more things. It depends on also how long's left in the deals over here with Sky and whatnot, but I think it'll be a better experience. It's almost like when you buy a video game console or a computer game console, depending on where you're from, what you'll call it. First day you go in, it's a disaster. There's bugs and all sorts going on. You let the guinea pigs do it, in this case the United States and Canada and Australia and the Netherlands. Let them get it out of the system.
John, I remember when GTA was released,
disaster.
GTA 5 is it? On the Xbox One, we were absolutely
couldn't get on.
Nuts, we couldn't get on this, but everyone was bottlenecking, just because they weren't ready for it. So it might work out well for us.
You're seeing, Stephen, people are complaining about the service. What do you expect? It's day one, there's 10 million subscribers trying to get on. So it'll work out beneficial for us in the end. We will get in there, it'll all be established, the servers will be performing much better, there'll be more content as well. All in all, I don't really care about the whole Spider-Man thing, it's not surprising at all. Final thing I'll say, I keep slagging off Age of Ultron, I really need to stop that. It wasn't that bad a movie. It wasn't. It was Avengers 1.5, but it wasn't that bad. Paul Bettany was in it, I love the guy. Loved him since Gangster #1. Gave us a great Vision character. Ultron was a decent villain, but I don't know why I'm going off on a tangent about Age of Ultron. It's not even
just get it off your chest, John.
Yeah, I'm being very harsh. I seem like I slag it every week and I have to rein it back
a bit. It's the worst of the Avengers films, It
is, Stephen, but look, I think we shall move on in that note, Stephen, unless you have anything else to say, to the blog rundown section of the show, where of course we discuss 3 different reviews from our writing team. What have we got coming in first this week, Stephen?
First, John, we're going to be talking about Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. This is a movie review from Peter Plumers, and it comes in from this year, 2019, and is directed by, I can never say this guy's name, Andre Øvredal.
Øvredal, that is the one, yes.
I got it in the end, and it stars the likes of Zoe Margaret Coletti, Michael Garza and Gabriel Rush.
Gabriel Rush, yes, Stephen. It's also a very young cast, first and foremost, which Peter does highlight pretty well in his review. He says that's one of the more alluring and enjoyable parts of the movie, the performances of the younger cast. Something we've seen done time and again in recent years with the likes of It. We've seen it in obviously Stranger Things and a whole host of other movies have tried to capture. There was a shite one from Netflix with dinosaurs, I think Time Travel or Alternate Reality, where they used the younger children. And if you can get the casting correct and you get some good up-and-coming young actors in there like Jacob Tremblay, there's another one who's popping up all over the place just now as well, then it can really make the movie a real standout. And with it being firmly fixed on this younger cast, then they really have to cast correctly. By all accounts, according to Peter, he really did enjoy the performances of the younger actors. They have cast correctly. I can't speak about this movie, Stephen, from a purely personal standpoint because I haven't seen it. We did do 2 reactions to the, obviously, 2 trailers for this movie. I did like the aesthetics of it, and that's another thing Peter does say in his review. He really did enjoy the atmospheric sort of a feel to the movie. It had darkness, I'd imagine, and I think there was a fog scene in a cornfield with the Scarecrow guy.
Right, yeah.
So he says it's very atmospheric, very dark, but it's not a horror movie which will captivate or scare a hardcore horror fan.
Harold the Scarecrow is John.
Harold the Scarecrow.
You've also got a chap called the Big Toe and Jangly Man.
Jangly Man, yes.
Cool names.
Yeah, he says it's not going to scare traditional horror fans or adults. It's more adolescent friendly. And Stephen, that's what it has to be. Obviously, it's Guillermo del Toro, massive name in the horror realm,
John,
and a massive name in filmmaking period. He's involved, so he knows the demographic, Stephen.
You can get films like that are classed as horror that aren't out and out horror, John. I'm not the biggest fan of horror, as you know. When it's done in this format, though, it can appeal to me because it's more condensed scares, if you like.
Yes.
If there is scares. I've not seen the film either, John.
I think there'll be some scares in there.
There'll be some in there to give it that horror element. Now, Peter does say, there is obviously touches in there, that would fit into a collection of short stories by Stephen King. There's actually a collection of them called Cat's Eyes. I don't know if you've seen them, John.
I've not, Stephen, no.
They are in that sort of...
Is that a younger centric story? I don't think Stephen ever caters to the younger.
No, it's Stephen King, classic Stephen King, but there is that element of it's not too graphic or gory or anything like that. It's more sort of silly horror. And that's the kind of vibe I'm getting from this, John. And it's right, when I was reading this review, the things that I was obviously recalling from when I was growing up was the likes of Tales of the Crypt, which was one of my favourite series. And I hired them out in Global Video, John, back in the day, out of a video shop, and got them all. I was obsessed with them. For someone who's not really that big a fan of horror, I was just engrossed in them. I think it's because of the time span of each episode. It was just enough for me, rather than try to stretch out over a couple of hours. I've seen it with It Chapter 2. Just try to, keep the audience's attention, try to keep them on tenterhooks. It's a very hard thing to do. Not very many directors can pull it off for the duration of the film. It'll be little spells here and there. That's why I like this format, John. I like the condensed version of a story told in this, very much like the Twilight Zone as well, which I was a fan of, John. But yeah, I mean, it's something I think when it comes on to digital streaming, I'll certainly catch it because I did like the trailers.
Yeah, Stephen, I'd agree. If it does come onto a streaming service, then I'll perhaps give it a bash.
Yeah.
Well, in terms of the runtime, you're absolutely right. It's under 2 hours long, so it's not overstaying its welcome by any means. Box office-wise, it actually did not too bad. $95.7 million, off of, I believe, a $15 million budget, I want to say. $28 million budget. That's actually outperforming Doctor Sleep.
Wow.
As it stands, Doctor Sleep hasn't got anywhere near that, and it, by all accounts, isn't connecting with audiences. So that's a much better horror movie, in my opinion, but it's not doing as well. So clearly it struck a chord with some demographic, and it's probably that adolescent demographic that Peter does highlight. It's maybe been drawn to watching this, to go with maybe a young girlfriend or whatever in the theatre, and try and get lucky via the scares and whatnot.
Yeah.
But look, all in all, I haven't seen it. It's got atmospheric things in there. It's got an array of interesting figures, as you did say, Big Toe and whatnot, and the Scarecrow guy.
Jangly Man as well.
Jangly Man as well. So it's got an array, and as you did say as well, Stephen, they're condensing 3 short novels, I believe, are multiple stories into this 1 hour and 47-50 odd minute running time. It's probably a successful recipe they've managed to conjure up there. I don't know, I've not seen it, but Peter enjoyed it, so I'd imagine it is.
Yeah, we'll move on anyway, John, to our next review. It's coming in from Peter once more, and it's Low Tide from this year. This is directed by Kevin McLaughlin and stars Jaden Martell, Keanu Johnson and Shea Wiggum.
Yeah, Stephen, I'm not going to lie, I don't know much about this movie. I didn't even know it existed prior to the reading review.
Yeah.
And from what Peter's saying, it does seem to be following in the footsteps of a sort of a Goonies setup. Again, much like what we were speaking about previously, a young cast.
Stand By Me, yeah.
Stand By Me. I think he says it's set, I want to say in the 60s. I may be wrong, that may be Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark in actual fact.
Yeah.
But it's, again, a younger cast who have this revelatory sort of a moment in their life which irrevocably changes what happens in their life thereafter, the relationships and whatnot. Sounds an interesting concept. They go out, they discover treasure, and this causes real fractures within their relationships. It gave me a sort of a Lord of the Flies setup where they're all youthful and innocent until they get their hands on something, then it all goes to shit. And we see the domineering and bullying and whatnot, maybe rearing its ugly head. Like the concept of them being in this out of town sort of what I think he says Jersey Shore setting. And they're going and doing nocturnal raids on these out of town houses. They call them what the hell, Bennies. They come from richer neighbourhoods. That's intriguing, and I like what he says about the movie as well, Stephen. That concept I spoke about and touched upon, this big moment changing a young group of people's lives. He goes through a great deal of movies like Stand By Me, Mud and whatnot, and Rockaway. We were speaking about Sleepers, that one with I think Bob De Niro and a whole host of other actors, Kevin Bacon and Dustin Hoffman. There's been so many great movies like that over the years where we take a younger sort of a character, a group of characters, something happens, it creates seismic shocks in their life, and then they come back and maybe look at it from the future, or they play it out in real time.
Yeah, this is the thing, John. This seems to be the thing just now. Playing off nostalgia from 1980s films and early 1990s films, and I think Stranger Things has got a lot to do with that, John, and probably Chapter 1 as well, where you get these group of kids, and that is, as you said, John, coming of age. That's the kind of vibes I'm getting from the review anyway. I've not seen the film. I wasn't aware of the film either, but certainly one that does, very much like the last review, it intrigues me enough to catch this on Netflix or whatever it will be hosting on, because I like those films that he mentions. A big fan of the Goonies. I love the Goonies. Just for the adventure and a big moment in their young lives that change their the way that they go forward in their lives as well. Stand By Me is classic storytelling as well in that sense. So it's certainly something. I'm not too familiar obviously with the cast, John. They're very unknown to me, certainly with the director as well, who also writes the film as well, Kevin McLaughlin. But certainly Peter's review intrigues me enough to seek this film out.
Yeah, Stephen, when I heard Kevin McLaughlin, my immediate thought was to go to Home Alone, where I heard Kevin McAllister. That was the thing that came to me straight away. I don't know why. It's not even remotely connected, but that name popped into my head. But yeah, look, you're right, Stephen, and just the homage to these movies from maybe a bygone era, with the concept of storytelling and whatnot, like the Goonies. What I get from it and from what I've read in the review, it seems to me that there's some satire going on as well, where they're exploring the notion of these impoverished or poorer societies living next door to richer societies. They've got a futureless life, I think Peter says at one point. That's why they're going and doing these nighttime raids and try to steal things, so they can maybe see a path to a future, if you like. So it's got that going for it as well. He says the performances in the main are pretty fascinating, but I don't think he says it's a perfect film by any means. There's some aspects that are not so great and that let it down slightly. But all in all, he enjoyed it. I'm intrigued by it. It's a great review again from Peter, and it's maybe one I will try and catch on a streaming service if it's on. If not, I'll go and rent it off of Amazon Prime. That's the only reason I use Amazon Prime these days.
Why not?
That and delivery.
Well, here's one we have caught, John, and it's another one in from Peter as well, to make it a trilogy, or a trinity, and it's Little Monsters from this year. This is directed by Abe Forsyth, stars the likes of Lupita Nyong'o, Josh Gad and Alexander England.
Yeah, Stephen, I watched it. I've got a slightly different viewpoint to the film. I agree with a lot of what Peter says about the movie. There is some corny, incredibly childish moments in this movie. There is a complete lack of suspense at times. The zombies never feel that threatening, even though there is some gory moments where you're seeing intestines getting taken out. Josh Gad's character's face actually gets ripped off completely, but that gets nullified in that it's his friend who was killed earlier, who was a puppeteer and had like a frog puppet on his arm, and it's the frog attacking him. It's the zombies attacking him with the frog puppet, and then it's coming out of the hatch on his car or his van and whatnot, and it's like, this is ridiculous.
Sounds surreal.
There's a degree of that childish nonsense going on, married with humour. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, and also married with complete violence. He's right what he says about Lupita Nyong'o being the complete star show in this movie. She carries it for the large majority. Her bouncing off of the young children, obviously she's a guardian to them. She's a kindergarten teacher essentially, and she's almost looking after the Alexander England character as well. And Josh Gad is an annoying shit. He's absolutely right, Peter. Just he's the way he views life and just his attitude, it's terrible, it stinks. And I agree with him, I would have flung him to the zombie mass immediately. All in all though, I actually enjoyed the elements of it, perhaps more, some of the humour, and just the profanity and the way that Alexander England's character in particular, the way he was swearing in front of like, his young nephew and just the children in general, it had me in stitches, because it's so inappropriate, but he just didn't give a shit. He himself is quite socially awkward, he's got no concept of how to really communicate with people, and just the situations he thrusts his young nephew into as well. Like, walks in his girlfriend having a moment with some guy from her work, and then he walks into, he allows his sister to come into him playing a virtual reality game, killing zombies and whatnot. It's just completely inappropriate, but all in all, I really enjoyed it for what it was. It's not the best movie I'm ever going to see in my life. He does ponder a question at the end, why does Lupita Nyong'o lower herself to star in this movie? I replied with money.
Yeah,
really, that's it. It's just money.
Sometimes, you know, the best of actors out there, John, will phone these performances. I'm not for one moment.
Oh, she does. She
does actually. Well. Certainly carries the film. What I got from I've only seen the trailer, John, because I'll be honest with you, I wasn't that bothered about the film from the trailer. I had some kind of pacing issues with it. It didn't sit with me for a film of this genre.
It was just strange, and the humour, when I think about it,
at times wasn't really sitting with me either. It just seemed a bit misplaced at times from what I saw, John. The combination of these genres has been done to death now, ever since, you know, obviously Shaun of the Dead back in the early 2000s. It's been done over and over again. It's came to a point now where it's just not that funny, you know, anymore. It's a novelty factor, you know. But zombie films, I find the genre very restrictive anyway. You know, there's only so much you can do with it. We've seen it in 28 Days Later, where they've took the sort of approach of more like infected rather than dead, you know, coming alive, that kind of thing. But what was the one with Bill Murray and The
Dead Don't Die?
The Dead Don't Die.
Adam Driver.
Yeah,
a whole host of actors in that, really.
Yeah, I mean that kind of the humour in that was just enough, I think, just to sort of make it passable. But what I'm hearing from Zombieland 2, I can't remember what it's called, the Double Tap. Yeah. It's just not seem to be connecting with people, and I think that's just people are bored of this genre now.
Stephen, I think with Zombieland Double Tap, it's just purely because it feels like the same movie and nothing's really evolved. The characters haven't really evolved. The humour's not really evolved. In 10 years, it's like the same movie, and you've got that great Zombieland 1 to go back and watch, so there's no real need to go out and spend money and support it in the cinema or the theatre, unless you're a real big fan of Woody Harrelson or Emma Stone or Jesse Eisenberg, in which case I did go and watch it. I actually enjoyed it, but it's no different to Zombieland, it's just like rehashing. With this, not even close to The Dead Don't Die. I completely agree with Peter, that is probably one of the better dark comedy, sort of a dry, sardonic, I want to say, wit movies, just surrealism going on in there for the entirety of that movie. That was a far superior movie to this. This movie had some little elements, some little charming things going on. Certainly the performance of Lupita, as I did say. I actually enjoyed Alexander England. I think he did as well, Peter. Josh Gad, an annoying character, but does okay, I suppose, with his acting. Certainly the dance sequence in front of the kids and whatnot. He's playing this sort of a cartoonish kid personality, you know, he's acting in front of them. So he does that, and he does it okay. His death was poetic, because he was an absolute cunt, if you'd like. I agree with what he says as well, with the young nephew running around with the Darth Vader costume at various moments. Very funny, and he's doing the voice and whatnot. That was cool, just the utilisation of his hand getting up and trying to force closing the gate, and the zombie bumps into it and it shuts. Little things like that. There was little moments throughout, sporadic moments, but all in all, it's not going to win any awards. Certainly not anywhere near the best horror movie I've seen this year, let alone horror comedy movie. And I've not got much more to add on that. No, I agree with Peter in the main. Certain parts I disagree, but that's life. All that is subjective. One man's trash is another man's treasure, and all that jazz, Stephen. But look, guys, that is, jazz hands. That is going to round up today's show. What did you make of the topics we spoke about? What the hell did you make of the reviews we spoke about? If you've got anything to say, comment below and let us know what your thoughts are down below in the comments section. Like the video if you've enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content, and me and Stephen will be back again tomorrow for the Force Friday show.